remember that they're changing my voice. So basically what has been going on is that there's a bunch of racist, scientific racist, whites, Jews, and LGBT people who are in various corporate groups, military industrial complex related groups, various groups, and they exert a lot of control over society because society, is a bunch of sheep, right? Everyone knows that. So this is key here. When people don't start off by saying this, they confuse what's going on by default because there's a lot of stuff out there that's there to confuse people about who's to blame and why. Okay, so they, it's a ruse, right? It's a lie, what they're doing, a false story, a ruse to use, confuse, and abuse. Okay, I'm going to make this, 10, 15-minute video in a way that's calm, even though I'm being provoked to the extreme. Okay? A lot of times I think to myself, why be calm? And there's no real reason to be calm. For me to show you what's going on, it's best that I show you anger, even when they change my voice to make it sound corny. Why? Because it shows you what's going on. And then I explain what's going on in a way that even a child could understand. Again, in a way that even a child could understand. I have 23, 24 witnesses on record right now, okay, who have testified to various components of my targeting. I've done interviews with people. I've had debates where I won the debate. I've graduated college while being targeted and covertly drugged and fumed and sabotaged and hacked, okay, quite often turning in assignments on the internet. Pretty straightforward. That I am a rational person who looks at the facts, who asks people for their opinion, who considers things carefully. I critically think. I reason things. I use reason. And so we see in this society, there's whites, Jews, and LGBT people in groups, okay, who are taking advantage of people. And there's scientific racist groups. There's a spectrum, right? Everyone who doesn't obey God through me is doing something wrong, right? They're cheating me out of my right to lead. Okay, if somebody is righteous and more righteous than everyone else by far, they should lead. Period. That person is the right person. If they're smart enough to be righteous and more righteous than everyone else, then they should be in charge. There's no other way to look at it. That's why in Proverbs 16:12, the person who wrote it was very satisfied with himself when he wrote that the throne is established in righteousness and justice. And in Proverbs 17, it's like 17:11 or something, it says evildoers foster, right? They cultivate and they enforce and they promote and they live and they encourage rebellion against God. The angel of death will be sent against them. The messenger of death will be sent against them. Notice that's the next chapter, almost the same verse, next chapter. Proverbs 16:12 and I believe Proverbs 17:11. And if you look at those chapters side by side, like I have, you see that they're definitively connected. And they're connected in a way that it goes beyond just being the next chapter. It's like written so the verses line up to in a certain way. And that's something that somebody who's insightful notices and accepts as true. So when we look at, for example, New Age people, there's a lot of New Age groups as a result of corporations. They're occultists, they're Satanists, right? They teach them that the tree of knowledge, the knowledge of good and evil. And one commonality almost all of them have these days is that occult cut-ups are real. The magic, quote-unquote, spells are real. Now, they take it in a direction that's like talking about things that people don't, things in conspiracy theory which people aren't likely to believe because they're far out there, okay? They take it there. But they're right that there's something with the word play. The word prepare is not pre-rape for no reason. The word, together is to get her for a reason. The word format is like the words formate for a reason. The word traders, is art is rot. scrambled for a reason. Bread and be read. And as I go through this, evil is lived spelled backwards. What are the odds that all that's a coincidence? It couldn't be. The odds are like 1 in a trillion. But if you make these arguments, and I have made these arguments for a long time, people will act like you're crazy. Unless you put it this way, then it's harder for them to act like you're crazy. And that's not a coincidence. And there's countless people that act like people are crazy for pointing this out. That's how it's also designed. It's in the design. That's why it's called Babylon system. Babylon, baby line, right? Baby in Babylon, not a coincidence. Cryptograms and anagrams in the Bible. Moses' name means to draw out. Jacob means to overreach, to supplant, to seize by the heel. Emmanuel, God with us. Rahab is a cryptogram for Egypt. And Leb Kamai is a cryptogram for Babylon. It says right there in the Bible Gateway footnotes. And this is something that nobody has ever significantly challenged in popular culture, where on this very famous Bible site, it's there in the footnotes that there's cryptograms, there's anagrams, and that the names in the Bible have meaning. Okay, maybe okay, the names have meaning and there's cryptograms. Okay, I'm not sure. I don't remember if they have anagrams written there, but that's part of it too. The word anagram exists for a reason. Okay? It's when you have a word where the letters are rearranged and they make one or more words. It's there for a reason. You see what I'm saying? And this is a society, I don't know if they're going to take me out of context. See how I corrected what might be a mistake there? Okay, right away. And even if that was the mistake, it doesn't change that I'm right about this and that people aren't talking about this. And there's people who would argue that, hey, he doesn't know what he's talking about, so don't listen to him. So you want them to listen to the people on the news who are often contradicted, to people name somebody who's never been wrong about something, and name somebody in popular culture who's promoted as someone you can listen to, who isn't a bootlicking fucking coward, who isn't a liar. So if a liar knows what they're talking about more than everyone else, they know how many grains of sand on the beach, that they should be allowed to talk about what happened at the beach. But somebody who's going to tell you the truth, who's an eyewitness, okay, who doesn't know how many grains of sand are on the beach, shouldn't be allowed to talk about it. That's the logic that's being used here in society. If they're promoted by a bunch of bootlickers, then magically you're supposed to listen to them. So we look at the timeline. Before the 80s, whites and Jews were like indistinguishable. Someone had to tell you, hey, that they're a Jew. So when you looked at the society, a white society that's oppressing you, Jewish people were oppressing you and treating you in a way that's similar to white people, right? Pretty straightforward. Most people would agree. A lot of you couldn't tell who's Scottish, who's of Irish descent, German, Italian. You didn't know until they told you. Unless they're at some event that gave it away or they had some flag or something. Pretty straightforward. So the white oppression in society was white, Jew, and LGBT. If somebody was gay, maybe you didn't know till they told you. But certainly you weren't like, well, every white person's treating you badly, but that group, bullshit. You didn't say that because that was not the case. It was all of them collectively and on a spectrum. Okay, and I'm not saying every white person didn't try their best to be friendly or whatever. But I am saying that white privilege, white denial, white fragility, and white guilt exists, and the fact that there's millions of people that pretend that it doesn't testifies that it's a huge fucking problem. Imagine if everyone on the right wing said that rape doesn't exist. Would it make it less of a problem? Or would it make it more of a fucking problem? So when they're acting like complete Klan-like bitches, arguing that white denial doesn't exist, arguing that white people don't enjoy privilege, that there's not social clubs here that are all white, there's not fraternities that are all white, that go places that colored people can't go in a way that is significant, it's more of a fucking problem, just in. And should you respect a group of people that makes the argument? No. And then when there's controlled opposition on the left saying, well, I agree it exists. Well, you're sucking a corporate fucking dick. And unless a black guy's a crypto Jew and a white chick's a crypto Jew, you're probably not going to date a black guy, are you? Because you're a fucking racist, pretending to be on our fucking side. Now again, am I a black supremacist? No, I'm not. Black people are not rallying to me saying stop doing this to Jesus Christ. The guy who's proven that he's the idea that Jesus Christ is superimposed on. The ideal man, the person who's established a throne in righteousness that goes beyond every other person's righteousness with focused moral intensity, focused righteous intensity. Like Proverbs 4:18 or so, it says, the path of the righteous is like the morning sun shining ever brighter till the full light of day. So he who is shining the most bright has gone beyond, has transcended the others. He who uses focused moral intensity, right? David and Goliath. David's mighty men. Jonathan and the Philistines, Samson and the Philistines, Joshua at Jericho, Moses and Abraham, Moses killing the Egyptian, Moses defending the Midianite woman, Moses splitting the Red Sea figuratively. There's no other way to look at it. If you don't know I'm right about this, then when you're the type of person who watches an action movie and doesn't know it's an action movie, that's fucking retarded. That's called being a dumb son of a bitch. That's called being a dumb, hypocritical piece of shit. When you sit there and you pretend that God is called Almighty and a warrior in Exodus 15:3, and you act like it has nothing to do with His Spirit and what the divine order is. And you're going to sit there while they suck a white military and bodybuilding dick and act like their privilege and their trickle-down spirit of corruption doesn't fucking disqualify them times infinity. That's called being a stupid, sniveling, afraid to man up type of bitch. And if you don't know that, shame on you and your fucking family. Like, I gotta explain this. So at this point, I've decided to no longer make the video calmly. You know why? Because the topic now transcends the need to be calm. So I intended to make it calm. I said, I'm going to make it calm. Yeah, I was satisfied with it in the beginning. But I was being fumed and so on and so forth. And they might say, well, he couldn't even make the whole video calm. Who gives a shit, you fucking oppressor? You're fuming me. And just like my videos before, where I made some mistakes, minor mistakes, I corrected all of them, mind you. You said, but he made minor mistakes because you were covertly drugging me, you denial, fragility, bitch. That's why. You and your peoples, you and your groups. And there's 23, 24 witnesses on record. And to this day, you still pretend that I'm fucking crazy with 24 witnesses, a college degree, and a legal and peaceful outdoor sparring top martial arts challenge has been going on for 11 years, and you can't beat me mentally sparring, you can't beat me spiritually, you can't beat me at sparring literally in outdoors how it's intended. But you're going to sit there with a white supremacist, privileged, fucking bitch-made thong on and act like I'm crazy, and while you roll with pedophiles like a bitch, then magically you're fucking sane. If that isn't being a bitch-made ass oppressor, what the fuck is? Okay. So now let's get to something else. I'll go over this real quickly. What I expect from a girlfriend or wife. And I go over 17 points. I'm going to shoot through this. I mean, if you don't know that I'm right to expect this, you're insane. I'm never going to settle. If you're unattractive, newsflash, I'm not going to date you. On top of everything else, they've tried to get me to settle so that they could insult me and embarrass me to the best of their ability, and so they can insult God. Am I going to help a bunch of bitch-made-ass motherfuckers who raise their kids to rebel against God and to pretend that their church spirit, which is some pedo mixed garbage, magically is God's spirit? No, I'm not going to take their fucking side. And no, I'm not going to settle. And no, I'm not going to be fucking gay. Homosexuality is a fucking sin, and I'll have no fucking part in it. Especially after they've been harassing me for years, trying and changing my videos covertly and making weird, immature faces while the LGBT community disproportionately rapes fucking children. Look at the statistics. And they have the nerve to sit there like a clown-ass bitch, sexually harassing me every fucking day, trying to misrepresent me as gay. And they say, but no, you can't point out that it's a sin. That's sick. That's sicker than tossing fucking salad. That's sick. What I expect from a girlfriend or wife. 1, I expect them to love God with all of their heart. 2, I expect them to be 100% loyal. 3, I expect them to submit to righteousness in me. 4, I expect them to be honest. 5, I expect her to hate my enemies. Okay, righteous indignation, moral outrage. Not some kind of evil hate, but a righteous hate. You see it in Psalms. You see it in Proverbs. 6, I expect her to be disciplined. 7, I expect her to adopt my religion. 8, to take on my religion. 8, I expect her to want to die with me. Okay, non-negotiable. If you rather live in a sniveling, devil-fucking world where even a slut in their stories named Juliet was willing to die for love, okay, then die for God with me on the drop of a hat if the situation calls on it, then you're just an immature little slut that never grew up. You can fuck off. You can go suck on a pedo's dick for all I care and choke on it and die. 9, I expect her to believe me about everything. 10, I expect her to hate the world. 1 John 2:15, for those of you who want to cry about hate's not the religion of God, well, read 1 John 2:15 very carefully and ask yourself what it means to not love the world and to withhold from them the love of God. Is that not hatred? Then what is? 11, I expect her to know homosexuality is a sin. Again, I don't intend to insult anybody in this video. Okay? I'm going to say the facts. And if something pisses me off, I'm going to express it that way. So I'll go on and say no offense to the LGBT community, but I expect her to know homosexuality is a sin. 12, I expect her to hate all other religions and philosophies on the spectrum. Again, hate, righteous hate. 13, I expect her to know that the Jews are not chosen, non-negotiable. 14, none of these are negotiable. I expect her to know that nerds were a big part of the government persecuting me. 15, I expect her to know that God's order is a Royal African Falcon Top Martial Arts Order, heterosexual, transcendent, and that it will no longer be among mankind after my flesh dies, as mankind will be sealed in hell from that point onwards. Sealed out of heaven, a top layer of hell. When they die, they truly go to hell. So, there's going to be some nerd whose corporate partners is a pedophile, and a bunch of pedophiles, a bunch of Weinstein and Epstein, at least what they're accused of doing, type of people. And they'll be like, well, if this is hell, then, and they'll say some smart ass shit, then what's heaven, or, then hell's not so bad, so on and so forth. Fucking retarded. Just dumber than hell, never grew up, some kind of weird corporate geek ass frat. That's another thing, these frats, my goodness. Okay, there's a bunch of people who think like scary movie people. Okay, they're like fraternity-like the scary movie person is fraternity-like the typical soccer mom, this kind of fairy kind of spirit, okay? Yet they're evil. All the world is evil, but they're particularly evil. They organize in a very pernicious and disconcerting way, and they make sure that people suffer, and they try to force people into their frat life. If you don't know that frats and sororities waste their lives and people like that, you're an idiot. And what the hell? Frats are nerds. Nerds are defined as foolishly contemptible, boringly studious, in some places worthless. These people commit to being worthless some of the best years of their lives. Can you imagine? Look at Rush Week. Look at what they do. Look at how they dress. Look at how they think. Look at how they move. They're like crazed cartoon fairies. They worship the devil. Some pagan spirit. They waste their lives, the best years of their lives, and then they go, quite often, and I'm sure they'd admit it themselves, they go and suck a corporate dick, literally. And when it comes to it's not who you know, when it comes to it's not what you know, it's who you blow, they're like the bell that rings the fucking loudest. So if you want to waste your life and eat your oppressor's dick for a fucking bootlicker's pittance, join a fucking devil frat, a devil sorority. If you're not a dumb fuck, don't be like them. And obey God through me. Point number 16. I expect her to understand why I'm mad at adult females, especially those who are over 30, for listening to satanic people, especially males, and especially LGBT whites and Jews who are in racist, scientific, racist social clubs and corporate groups and, order gang-stalk and what have you. You see, they even shunned me as a result of it. 17. I expect her to know that anyone who does not obey God through me is evil and my extreme enemy. Under no circumstances should people rape children. That is, that's the truth of it. Versus, the opposition view, they argue that people who, that at times they think it's okay, because they think morality is relative. So I say under no circumstances should you rebel against God. If you're being tortured in a prison, it's not the same thing because you're just kind of screaming to stay alive. But if you're let loose, even if they have your family and they're torturing them, you should not betray God. Because your brain is not being overwhelmed with pain in a prison or in a psych ward or something. You're out there doing your thing, okay? So you have no excuse. You have to put God above everything. And I expect her to know this. I expect her to know that that's exception without being said. Say before I said this, that I was caught and they're torturing me and so on and so forth, and I said this, that, and the other thing while I'm in prison or while, being tortured in some kind of, inquisition situation. That doesn't mean fucking shit, okay? Any person that ever lived, if they feel enough pain, will say what the motherfucker wants them to say. But if you're free, even if you're being zapped, I'm being tortured to various degrees, right? You're expected to put God first and be willing to die. If the pain becomes too overwhelming, you have the option to kill yourself. Where if you're in a prison or in a psych ward, you don't have that option. Okay? They keep you there, unless you do, right? You see what I'm saying? So when we look at what's happened here, the timeline here, we look at how when I used to live in Saratoga, what they were doing. When I went to these various schools, these public schools and private schools and boarding school and reform school and behavior modification program, what they were doing. They were acting like bitches. We look back at a scary movie, crest-wearing, English royal kind of life, it's fucking disgraceful. When you look back at corrupt cop life, corrupt military, it's disgraceful. Thugs with no higher cause, rockers, jocks, emos, popular, that's a fucking wasted life. That's why Set, in the form of Zeus, right? Set's the Egyptian counterpart of Zeus, is the main deity in Greco-Roman culture. In Western culture, even for minorities, who have accepted Western cultures, Neo-Greek, Neo-Greco-Roman, Neo-Roman culture. And the Greek gods and Roman gods are basically identical. They're basically counterparts to each other. So, Way-Set, waste. The word waste is way-set scrambled without the Y. You can get the, Phoenicians, right? Phonetics, sounds. You can get the word way from W-A, way-set, S-E-T. Without the H, again, sounds are part of the wordplay. Everyone knows it. Way-set. They're wasting their fucking lives sucking a Zeus, Jupiter, ball dick. And that includes all the churches, mosques, and synagogues, even while they pretend that they're not. Now, again, my purpose here is not to insult them. Okay? If your religion is insulting me and you're conforming to the New World Order, and if everyone in it, every building, everyone who goes to any building in any so-called religious center in it is doing the same thing, do I have a freedom of speech that transcends their right not to be insulted? Yes. To interpret the Constitution differently, is it a fucking disgrace? Yes. Do the people who wrote the Constitution disgrace? Yes. But were they right about a lot of things? And when you look at it in the terms of truth? Yes. If you don't know these things, you are a dumb fuck. And anyone who looks at this thing from the outside and assumes that the brain surgeon's son who has the most heart, who's the top martial artist ever possible, who has a college degree, who's made 15,000 videos, has thousands and thousands of sources, who did all this research, spoke on it, told them to debate him, offered money if they can beat him at debate while they were tail tucked. If they default with them and not me, they are a stupid, raised wrong bitch. There's no fucking other way to look at it, period.